Welcome back to another edition of Hafeman Brothers Talking Packers.
Packers!
Packers. Packers. Packers! I love it. Packers. Packers. Ben, the Green Bay Packers are in the NFC Championship game. Did you think that was possible this year? Did you? And I know you did actually at one point. So when did you think that was possible this year? At the end of the Seahawks game? Is that what you're going to say?
No, it was after the Vikings game. Week 16 game. I said it. They were going to be playing. The one team that scared me, really, in Lambeau was the Vikings. And I knew at the time I thought the Saints were going to beat the Vikings, and I wasn't afraid of the Saints, and I wasn't afraid of the Seahawks. I said that week. So I guess since after the Packers beat the Vikings on Monday night, I was saying, yep, Packers would be an NFC Championship game. Holy crap. I thought it might be at home because I thought it might be because if Seattle would have done the right thing at the last game of the year, it actually got one more inch then. But that was Hollister, and we can talk about Hollister. He had a rough game against the Packers the other day. So, and Pete Carroll,
He chewed a lot of gum. Man.
And Russell Wilson is really good.
He is really
Pete
good.
Carroll sucks.
I have to tell
Pete
you,
Carroll sucks.
he's not a good coach.
I get Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll. I hate Pete Carroll.
And he complains about the refs and stuff after the game, which is insane. Whatever. Anyway, you know what?
That's ridiculous. Are we going to go there now already?
Hold on.
Wait.
No, just wait.
Okay, because if you want me to get me going, I'll get going.
If you recall, what week did I say Super Bowl?
Well, hey, don't ahead of yourself.
I think it was show 2. So that tells you that I knew at show 2, week after the second game of the year, the Packers would be in the NFC Championship game. And that's why
that was after a Vikings game, too. So
exactly.
There you go. We both knew after a Vikings game.
That's right. It just took you a little longer to get on board. But that's okay.
That's because I'm realistic. And
hey,
you're crazy.
No, I'm telling you, man, I just felt there's something different. Now, at that time, I thought, man, this is looking like a dominant defense, and things certainly changed and fluxed throughout the year. But the Packers got it done again. Now, here we go. Ready? We have to get into this stuff because there was some very interesting things that happened from the officials during this last game, and we might as well talk about it, get it out of the way, start with a nice fire-up segment where we get really mad and yell, because people liked it. People liked it when we were mad and yelled, a little sassy last week. We had many, many comments on last week's show about that. So let's go ahead. The first one was very clear and obvious, and I'm baffled by the replay and the result of. I'm baffled the Packers had to challenge the play first off, and then I'm even more baffled by after they looked at it, what they said. So, Ben, what did you think about the fumble, which was not called a fumble, and then Matt LaFleur has to challenge it, and then they say, yep, it's a fumble, and then they say, but there's no clear recovery, so Seattle keeps the ball, and we'll take your timeout? Please.
And your challenge.
Please tell me what you think about all that.
I think the same exact thing that Matt LaFleur thinks. And you might have to bleep this. I'm going to say what Matt LaFleur said. I'm going to say what Matt LaFleur said, which you could obviously see. Bullshit. That was a bunch of crap. Never in my life have I seen a play where the guy fumbles the ball. And that's fine. Maybe you didn't see the guy fumble the ball. But Shandon Sullivan has the ball at the end of the scrum, hands it to the official. And there's video evidence of this happening, number one. Plus, the official got the ball from Shandon Sullivan. Then they watch the replay and realize that it's a fumble and say, no clear evidence of recovery when Shandon Sullivan had the ball and handed it to the official. Now, I don't know what the rules are, but I'm pretty sure if you challenge a play and then you say, hey, I think that's a fumble, and then you win that it is a fumble, you get your timeout back. But apparently, this officiating crew doesn't know the rules. And the other thing, that was, first of all, the Packers would have had the ball like, whatever, the 20-yard line.
The 40-yard line. Yeah, 41-yard line.
40-yard, whatever. Either way.
Yeah, of the Seahawks.
It was a huge, huge, huge thing. Okay.
After scoring a touchdown on the opening drive, they would have had the ball right back at the Seahawks 41.
And then they would have at least got a field goal, probably. But the other problem is this. By having it be the Seahawks, and the Packers defense did great. They stopped them. But then they punted, and the Packers got the ball inside their own 10-yard line. And they couldn't do anything with it, and they had to punt. Then the Seahawks couldn't do anything, had to punt again. And then the Packers had the ball on the third possession, was inside their own 10-yard line. They couldn't do anything again. So that's 2 drives wasted because the officials are stupid. And everybody's complaining, since we're talking about the officials.
Oh.
Talking about the last play of the freaking, the third down conversion of Jimmy Graham. And that's all everybody's talking about all over TV. Oh, did the Seahawks get hosed? Did the Seahawks get hosed? The Packers got hosed on the first offensive freaking play the Seahawks had. How is nobody talking about that? Like, do these freaking people not watch the whole game? They must not. I mean, there's only one game on TV. It ain't like it's the regular year, noon on a Sunday, and there's 7 other games going on. No, this is a playoff game with one game going on. And all these national media guys aren't watching the entire game.
Bunch of former players.
Know that the Packers got screwed. Yeah. Like, it's agenda thing. It's an agenda thing to hold them down, talk smack about the Pack, and all this other crap with Seattle. That's just one of the things. Here's the other thing I want to know.
I got something on that, though, unless if you're going another direction.
Oh, you want to keep going? You want to do that one?
I just want to say
do that.
I just want to say this, because John Kuhn said it too, and is what I said right when the play happened, which is the NFL put this into place, which says all turnovers and scores are automatically reviewed. So the officials are supposed to let the play go. If it's close and you don't know for sure if it's a fumble or not, you call it a fumble and you let them review it because they're going to automatically do that anyway. So it's just a terrible call, and you're not following the rules and the whole thing you set up to try to prevent dumb stuff from this happening. And then secondly, they see all these different angles and all these different shots. And okay, one angle, you first see the ball and you see Sullivan get his hands on it, but you can't tell if he's got it or other guys are in there. But if you look at it from the backside angle, which they showed on TV after just a little bit, you see that he clearly has the ball tucked. It's in there. And he's got it. And then there's a scrum. And then after everybody gets off, then exactly what you said happened. He's the one with the ball. He's the one that hands it to the official. And then you go back, you see all that. What, did you just not look at the video long enough? Like, how does that happen? That is insane. And then no one talks about it after the game except a few of the Packers fans, or actually Chris Sims mentioned something about it, a couple people, but most of all of the immediate recap of the game, no one says jack about it. I get it, as humans and as people in these games, everybody focuses on the end of the game all the time, but the plays early in the game matter just as much as the end of the game.
But you know what else happened in this game that bothered me?
All right, give it to me. I'm sorry.
There was a time where Rodgers, it happened twice. One time they got him on it, where Jadeveon Clowney got off sides and they had a free play, but they couldn't do anything with it. There's another time where Rodgers, maybe that was the one, but it was the free play and they stopped the clock. Like the guy he got off sides and they stopped the clock.
Yeah, they blew it.
And then later in the game, the Seahawks got Kenny Clark to jump, and they let the play go.
Yep.
The officials let that play go.
Yep.
What the hell is that?
I don't know.
If you're gonna call the play dead when Aaron Rodgers does it, who's known for doing it, but then when Russell Wilson does it and you let the play extend, nobody's talking about that either. That really pissed me off because I was like, wait, ho. Not only are you screwing us with the fumble, now you're letting you're screwing Rodgers on the thing he's known to do, probably one of the most known things he's for, besides being awesome, but calling guy, the hard count to get guys coming off, offsides. And then you let Russell Wilson get it for free? That made me mad.
I
And
agree.
here's another one.
Hold on.
Here's another one.
I got to
okay.
interject
All right.
because we're doing a lot of yelling.
good.
I don't want to lose people. You know what else Aaron Rodgers is also known for and one of the best ever at? Do you
No.
know? Having some of the greatest audible calls in NFL history. This week, another
Okay, but
one.
we're on officiating right now. I'm
Yellow-
still not done officiating.
Yellow Weasel. Yellow Weasel.
Oh, Yellow Weasel. Yeah, but Troy Aikman said Yellow Weasel's not a very good player.
I don't care.
That was the one thing he said where I was like, okay, that's funny, Troy. You're right.
New
The rest
York.
of the game, I was like, Troy Aikman sucks. I hate him. I can't stand him. I
New-
used to be like, okay, Troy Aikman. You know, I just hated Joe Buck. I thought he was the most annoying guy ever. And I thought Aikman was okay. But this game,
Yeah, it was
Aikman
bad.
was on full Packer hate mode.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, wow.
Yep.
Every single thing, he was just like, oh, I don't know. Ooh, that's a.
Hey,
Like, okay,
got away
here's
with the
another
hold
one.
there. Got away with
I'm
the-
going to go
hold
there.
On, hold on. One more thing. I want to bring back New
Go.
York Bozo.
Just wait on the New York Bulls, though, because I got
they're
to talk about one more
They're
thing.
so good. Okay, go ahead.
About Troy Aikman.
Oh gosh. Yep. Please.
On the play where Jadeveon Clowney pretty much ripped off Jay Sternberger's head. I mean, I understand it's not grabbing the face mask or grabbing the hole, but it's grabbing the entire helmet and ripping the guy's freaking helmet off almost. And Troy Aikman's like, "Oh, that's not really a penalty. That can't be that's not face mask." I'm like, how is that not a penalty?
I don't know.
When you tackle a guy by his head, that's a freaking penalty. Number one.
It should be.
Aikman needs to shut the hell up.
If it's
Number
not,
two,
it should be.
It should be. Like, that's the dumbest thing you ever heard. The
Yeah.
only time it's a penalty if you rip a guy's head off is if you happen to get your finger on the face mask or in the ear hole. I mean, come on. And then Aikman kept going like, oh, I don't know about that call. I'm like, you don't know about the call? Sternberger gets up and his helmet's sideways and you don't know about that call? Screw you. Number two, one more thing. Rodgers scrambles on the play where Jadeveon Clowney held Davante in the backfield, and they called a flag on it, but it didn't matter because Rodgers scrambled for another 20 yards after that. He got tackled by the face mask. No call. Should have been an extra 15 yards on the end of that. And Aikman's like, well, at that point, he's a runner.
Yeah. No
Yeah,
protection.
he's a runner. And he got tackled by the face mask. That's a freaking goddamn 15-yard penalty. These officials screwed the Packers on like 8 different calls, and the Packers still won. And then all everybody talks about is the bull crap freaking, did Jimmy Graham get enough, because the yellow line was like
Way off.
half a yard way off in front of where it should have been.
The only
Jimmy Graham fell down on his face.
Well, his
Like
whole
he always
body
does.
his whole body was kept up by the defender. The defender, his body was under his, and so his knees didn't touch. Nothing touched until his elbow touched, and his head touched at the same time. And they kept freezing it before his head actually touched the ground, and so that he was not even as far as he was when they froze it. Plus, they had a weird angle at it. When they showed the shot down the line right by the first down marker, the one angle, you could see how far the marker was before that actual yellow line was, for all the people that are complaining about the spot. So there was a good half yard there difference. Then on top of it, Jimmy Graham was up until the very last set. Like, nothing touched until his head touched. And if you look at where he's holding the ball and all that, it is very close. They marked it way further than he was, but actually where he was, he got the first down. He was right there. So, yes, the spot was bad, but he still got the damn first down. And the only shot that showed it is the one that's down the line. All the other ones, because of the angle, it looks off. And because you're looking at that stupid yellow line and you can't see where the actual first down marker is. But to have them, the officials looked at that play for how long? And this is where I'm going back to the fumble play. How long did you look at that fumble play early in the game? And then how long did you look at that
30
play?
seconds.
How long did you look at that play?
5 minutes?
How many times?
5 minutes?
Yes.
10 minutes?
And then they come out with a ruling and say the call stands, and then there's Pete Carroll
And it was
complains,
a second check.
and there's additional footage. What the hell is that? I don't understand it. And then to have everybody bitch about it and point it out, but anyway, that's all someone had to say. If you had a good neutral analyst who was on TV and they showed the replay 100 million times like they did, you wait for that shot that's down the line and you point out the fact that, yes, and they did point out the fact the yellow line was off, but They could have said, yes, the spot is wrong, but look at where he is. Nothing touches until his elbow and head touch at the same time. And look where the ball is on this shot down the line. He has the first down. He has enough right there. It's a first down. That's what a good analyst would do.
Well, we're talking Troy Aikman here. I'm going to go positive for a second because I'm going to talk about Jimmy Graham play.
Oh, Jimmy. Okay.
Here's all the things that happened in that play that helped make that play happen. And I'm going to mention all these guys. First of all, offensive line, except for, well, they all did pretty decent. I mean, there was a blitz. Wagner got in there super fast, and there wasn't much Lindsley could do there. But for the most part, the offensive line did pretty good. But let's talk about Aaron Jones.
Now, you're talking about the last third down conversion.
Yeah, Jimmy Graham third down conversion.
Okay.
That was a conversion that the officials screwed up, and then they had to look at it, and then 10 minutes later, it was like, oh, yeah, it's good. Okay.
The one I just went off about and don't even realize what I was saying or don't remember what I just said because I was so upset.
Right, because you were seeing red. Yeah, I'm talking about that play.
All right, yeah.
Aaron Jones, huge pickup of the blitz, which gave Rodgers more time, right? Rodgers holds the ball as long as he can. I mean, he's got Wagner breathing down his neck. He's falling backwards. He wasn't able to put much on that throw. It was kind of wobbly, but he held it as long as he could because he knew Jimmy Graham's super slow. By the time he actually turned around ready for the ball, because after the game he said, I was waiting for Jimmy to look at me, and he still wasn't looking. And then I just had to throw it and hope he was going to look. And luckily he did. I want to give a heads up or a shout out to Geronimo for just running a good route. I mean, he took his defender out of the play, which cleared out the way for Jimmy Graham to give that, because Jimmy's so dang slow that if Geronimo would not have been able to take that guy out of the play, Graham would have been tackled, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, that was a key, Geronimo. And then, you know what? We're going to give it to Jimmy Graham, who caught a wobbler super low. Yeah, he fell down immediately after he caught it, which we knew was going to happen because that's what happens with him.
But he fell down, he fell down on top of the defender, which kept him up long enough to get the first down. So we give him credit for that.
And on his head, and he got the first down. So all those things had to happen. On the earlier third down conversion, when Rodgers changed the audible, which I know you're going to talk about in a second, you almost brought it up and I cut you off, but I want to get you to get there again. But they had to double team Davante on that third down to Jimmy Graham, right? The safety, if he would not have been cheating over that way and back that far, he would have been able to come up and make the tackle on Jimmy earlier. But because he was worried about Davante, that also gave Jimmy more chance to get open and get to that first down marker. So it's like everybody had a part of that play. Every single offensive player had to do their job the best that they possibly could to complete that third down. And that's something that, to be honest, didn't happen throughout the whole game. A lot of times the game was just Davante schooling his guy and Rodgers making an awesome throw. But that last third down was every single guy in the offense had to do their job to make that conversion happen. And that's why it's probably my favorite play of the game.
All right, before I move on to some of the cool specifics about Rodgers' incredible game and some of the plays that were made at really, really key moments, we have to talk about what you just said was overcome by Jimmy Graham to be productive in this game after we had just hammered on him. And you just let him have it last week. You went off about it, and it just goes to show you.
Every week.
Every week, yeah. Every week, and it finally worked. But it just goes to show you the power of the Hafeman anti-power, which if we get down on you or call you out as a player, if the Hafeman brothers call you out, you respond, which maybe should show the Packers next time they need a motivational speech to their team. Matt LaFleur, give us a call because we got the power. Because we made Jimmy Graham do good.
Do
we made Gmo do good. We made Preston Smith do good. We made
Preston Smith.
That you just got to call him out.
Week.
We just now. So now what Ben and I are doing, because Ben called out Preston Smith last week, and what did Preston Smith do? He had 2 sacks in this game. He played well, and he got a key sack late in the game. And Gmo, he didn't have a lot of catches, but he had a
great third down catch.
Very important third down catch. So we got to give credit for Gmo for that. Jimmy Graham caught 3 third down passes for first downs. 3 of them. Yep. Now, yes, he got tackled right away on 2, and the other one he fell down. But he fell down far enough that he got the first down. And then Preston Smith gets 2 sacks, goes from being super quiet the last 4 weeks, 2 sacks in this huge playoff game. So this is what we're doing now. We are calling out every Packer player, everyone on the roster who even sees the field. You are called out by the Hafeman brothers for next week because we need them all. We need them all to have their best games. So we're calling them all out. Matt LaFleur, we're calling you out. Mike Patton, calling you out. Nathaniel Hackett. Menenga. J.K. Scott, come on, man. Give us those 70-yard punts again instead of these little 40, 35-yarders that you're doing now. I don't like it. All right.
55-yarder.
He did. He had a couple of better ones here in this game, but he's not booming it like he was earlier. But anyway. All right, so you're all called out. So now just kick some serious butt this week. That's what we want to see. Okay. Davante Adams was a monster. He was unbelievable. I mean, the route running, he had those guys turned around. And part of the scheme, too, like his first touchdown, that was a brilliant call. They made it look like a rub route, right? Like he was going to cut in, they were going to cross. And instead, he just broke it off. And it was beautiful because he's wide open because the corner's jumping it inside. And it's an easy play then. Like, that is credit Matt LaFleur. That's brilliant.
Well,
brilliant.
Actually, did you see Rodgers' press conference after the game?
What's that?
Because
did he call that one? I thought he called the other one. Well,
somebody said that to him. They're like, "Hey, what's it like to know that, like you got these incredible plays being called for you, by your young head coach and blah blah blah." And then Rodgers had to correct. He's like, "You talking about the first touchdown?" And the reporter's like, "Yeah, the first touchdown. That was a great call by Matt LaFleur." And then Rodgers like, "That's my play. I came up with that on Monday."
I love it.
So Rodgers wouldn't let LaFleur get any credit for that.
You know what?
Apparently that was Rodgers' idea.
You know what, though? That's okay by me. I love it. Because Rodgers is just so pissed at getting himself and the team so disrespected this year. He's calling out all these assholes.
Oh, my God. Well, did you notice after the game, too, he was all like, the fans didn't believe in us.
Is
and
it true?
Like, wait a minute.
And it's truth. He said, let's be honest here. A bunch of the media.
I believed in him against the Seahawks.
I know, but a lot of the fans haven't been. A lot of the fans were like,
I've been.
Woo. You know what? And you know how you can tell? If you couldn't hear these, right? You couldn't hear the post-game radio shows.
Yeah.
And that's all you hear. The Packers just won another game, and all it is they didn't do this, or they gotta do this better, they gotta do that better. There's nothing good. You'd think they lost 13 games instead of won 13 games based on all that. So no, the fan base didn't. There were some, sure, but the bulk of the fan base didn't believe in this team, and they need to start. We're going to get to that before the end of the show, too. All right. Davante Adams.
To get back to Davante.
Davante was a
every
monster.
catch.
Go ahead.
Every catch he had was for a first down or a touchdown.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
Not only that, Rodgers completed 16 passes. 8 of them were to Davante. So there it is, the Davante ratio, or as Mo says, the Davante denominator, or whatever the heck he called it.
Yeah, he used some other terms.
Apparently the Packers have to keep doing it.
Well,
I don't know if they'll be able to anymore because everybody's going to be like triple teaming Davante after this game. But it's incredible how almost every one of his plays he beats the guy, and then just he's schooling these guys playing man defense again. Like, you think the Seahawks would have figured out to play some zone against them a little bit, but they kept playing man.
Well, they did.
Rodgers just kept audibling and making them work, and it's like, okay.
Well, and he's smart enough, too, to sit down if they play zone. So, because they had a couple of zone plays early in the game over the middle, he's just wide open, just sitting there because he's like, okay, nobody's here.
Another thing. Yeah, earlier in the game, I was going to say there was a lot of play action passes on those first half drives.
They were
a ton
cooking.
of play action.
They were cooking, man. It was beautiful.
And it was all set up because of that first run by Aaron Jones. And yeah, Aaron Jones had, he didn't have a huge game as far as like, usually he's got a big yards per carry type thing. But
he had like 30,
because he had a couple.
He had 39 yards after that first carry. So he had one carry for 23 yards and 20 carries for 39 yards.
Yeah,
but
which isn't that, it's not great, but it set up the play action passes to Davante and Jimmy Graham and all these guys. All those were play action passes. It also set up the big runs by Tyler Ervin too.
Yeah, he had.
Because they were they were play action handoffs to Aaron Jones and then to Tyler Ervin, and it schooled that the defense wasn't ready for it. So, and then also Aaron Jones his when they needed that, well, they didn't need it, but with that third, for the third touchdown, those two plays, he had that 10-yard run and then he had the touchdown. Both of those plays, you see why Aaron Jones is so freaking awesome, because the Packers blocked and the hole wasn't there. Like, he was supposed to go to a spot and the hole wasn't there. And then he just like teleported like 5 yards to the left. And then boom, gone. 10 yards, first down, inside the 5. And then on the touchdown run, it was the same thing. He's trying to go to the right. It's not there. Boom, teleports to the left, 5 yards, touchdown. He's just got super awesome lateral quickness, yet still moves forward at the same time. He's been doing it all year. And he's the reason why the Packers are so dang awesome in the red zone. Also, shout out to Jared Valdir or whatever. I think his name, Jared Valdir. Right?
Valdir, yep, you got him.
I mean, what the hey, man? When you show up and you're like, hey, I know you didn't practice all week, but you're starting because Balaga's sick. And then you're like, what? Not only that, you were retired since, like in October. And now you're playing. And then you go in and you're starting the playoff game for the Packers. That's pretty awesome. So this is what I'm going to say. One more thing. The reason why this game really, I thought it was awesome. The Packers offense, the word to describe it to me was execution. It was perfect route running, decent, really good blocking most of the time. The play action, the routes, the route combinations. And then you look at the Seahawks offense, and it's just like run around by the seat of your pants. Terrible. Like, I don't even know how people think that's a good team. The only reason why they got back in the game is because they're just running around doing, like, Russell Wilson's running around doing crazy stuff. It's like no execution. It's like the exact opposite of the Packers. And my favorite type of football is execution. When you call a play and the play runs perfect. And that's what makes me so excited, because when you can do that, you can win. You can beat anybody. But when you're trying to win by just running around making plays like the Packers have done the last couple of years with Rodgers, like even Chris Sims said it in this his Unbuttoned podcast, it seems like the roles are reversed. Aaron Rodgers, 4 years ago, Aaron Rodgers is the guy running around trying to make plays, and the offense really doesn't do anything. Like, there's no execution in the offense. And the Seahawks had execution in the running game and defense. Now the Packers have execution, running game, and defense. And the Seahawks have just Russell Wilson running around trying to make things happen. And the difference is the guys with the execution win. Okay, I'm done.
And Rodgers made a lot of checks. And even though it wasn't effective, Yellow Weasel was my favorite.
Yellow Weasel.
But actually, I'm going to get to Yellow Weasel in just a second. This is such a good transition. But I do have to go back to Aaron Jones for 1 minute before I finish up with Yellow Weasel. Now, Aaron Jones, one other thing we have to say. For any of you naysayers out there, that first touchdown was a touchdown. Because if you watch the slow motion replay down the line, the straight down the line one, Aaron Jones looks like he might go down. And it looks like his knee might touch. But he's smart, and he's little, and he's shifty, and he's squirty. And he turns his body so he's actually facing the sky. So his knee can't touch down, and he keeps driving. And then he falls with his back towards the goal line. And at the end, right before he hits the ground, he moves the ball up. He moves the ball closer to his face, which then breaks the plane of the goal line. So anybody that, well, I don't know, it was close. I don't know if it got in there, Troy Aikman. And all the Scott Van Pelt, it was a close one. But anyway, there were also route adjustments, checks that Rodgers made from the original plays. So don't forget about those things. Those things are so important. Not every quarterback can do that stuff. So huge advantage. But before we get into a little more about Aaron Rodgers, we missed our super fans. We missed our super fans, Ben, for weeks now. We're actually down 3. Once because I forgot my fart gun. Last time I was in a rush and I just missed it because I had a time crunch and all this stuff. So we actually should do 3 for this episode. I don't know if that's too many, if we should hold one off. But just in case.
We don't have that many fans. Hold it off. Just one.
We got some.
Right. We need the Packers to keep winning. We're going to have more shows.
That's true. All right, we'll just do 2 then. We're going to do 2 friends, and we're going to save a family member for the pre-Super Bowl edition. All right, here we go. Yellow Weasel. I got a text from a friend who's also a super fan who listens every week, And
His name is
he told me
I know who it is.
He told me he always listens. He's like, Thursday night, it's HBTP night. That's what he tells me. I'm like, all right. He never leaves a comment, never tells me what he thinks about the show afterwards. He just tells me every leading up to it. Tonight's a big night. I listen to HBTP Thursday night. Okay. And today he sent me a text with a T-shirt that said Yellow Weasel on it. It's a green and gold T-shirt. It's a Yellow Weasel T-shirt. So superfan, one of the superfans this week is the original Weasel, Adam Wisey, the Weasel. Here you go, buddy. Adam is a faithful fan, a good friend. Since I was 5 years old, knew the man. One of the hairiest human beings I know, which I've told him many times. But he's also one of the best. So, and we appreciate him checking out Hafeman Brothers Talking Packers. And also being the Packer fan that he is, because he watches the Pack all the time.
Except he always drafts Aaron Rodgers if I don't draft him.
Oh, is it really? Actually, I don't know why, but him and I are on the same wavelength on fantasy, which probably is not good for either of us. But there have been 3 years out of the last 4 where he's picking right in front of me. And damn, if he didn't take, 3 or 4 of the guys that really wanted on my team right before I was going to grab him. He's really good for that too. But smart guy and great fan of the Packers and a super fan of Hafeman Brothers. Now we got to get to our other one.
Well, I mean,
unless you got something else about Weasel, if you got something.
Heck yeah, me and Weasel used to work together at Denny's SuperValue.
Denny's SuperValue.
We used to do the early morning trucks on Wednesdays, and we were in the flour and baking aisle together. And sometimes it got a little messy in there, and it was, I don't know, it was fun. Weasel's a good guy.
He is a good guy.
Not only that, I don't know if you remember this. There's a couple stories about Weasel that have to do with one of my favorite bands. One of them was that when your son was born, somehow Adam Wisey found a winger onesie.
No,
he gave it to you.
He made them. He ironed.
Oh, he made it himself.
He ironed them on.
Did he made it himself?
Yeah, he found the replica of the life-size Kip Winger poster that you had on the back of your bedroom door.
That's the other story. Yeah, I see you're ruining the other story.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, I won't say any more about that, but he found a picture of Kip Winger, and he ironed it onto these plain white onesies and gave me that. He also did an Alice in Chains one and one other one that I can't remember, like a Batman one, something else. But yes, one of them was a picture of Kip Winger.
And then the other story is one day he was staying at our house or something like that, right?
Yeah, I was staying at Mom and Dad's. We were back for, it was a sad thing. It was a funeral, of a friend. But we were back in town, and he came to town for it. And then, his parents don't live in Algoma anymore. So I said, hey, you can stay at our parents' house. And so, but he had to sleep in your room. And that's where all the trauma started.
Well, yeah, because I have a giant door poster of Winger, and it's Winger on the bottom, and then just a giant picture of Kip Winger on the top. And Wisey went in there and closed the door, and the first thing he saw was Winger's giant vampire-looking face staring him down, and he almost had a heart attack.
And that's a larger than life size, because I think the poster is 6 feet tall. The poster is 6 feet. Kip Winger is not 6 feet. No,
we've met him, so Kip Winger is 5'7". But the head is 3 times the size of a normal head, and it traumatized him for life into the fact that he had to get. Then he's making Winger things for you, and Winger here and Winger there. But Adam is a fun guy, cool, funny guy, and it's great to hear that he listens. He needs to comment more though, so we can see that he's commenting.
I know. I like
whatever he wants us to talk about. We'll talk about.
Yeah.
But he's another one of those guys where it's just kind of he's just goofy. He'll say goofy stuff and act kind of weird and whatever. It's fun.
And
that's what he was back in the day when we worked with him at the grocery store 25 years ago.
Absolutely, and he hasn't changed that much. I mean, he's more responsible now, certainly, but you can still catch that old weasel that comes out on occasion. Now, the other part is Adam did play high school football, and he wasn't a big guy, but the one thing you knew about him is he would spear you. He'd play middle linebacker, and if he got a chance to lower his head and spear you, he was going to do it because it wasn't against the rules back then. So he'd lower. I don't even think he didn't look at his target. He just lowered. He ran towards the guy, lowered his head, and tried to just crush him. Never hurt anybody, Never malicious. Just that was his way. That was his way. And one other thing about Adam is he's obviously a good friend, did a lot of good stuff, but he's also a veteran, and he served our country with pride and honor, and we thank him for that too, in a very serious note about the man, because, he's a great guy. Great guy, did a lot of great stuff, works for a nonprofit down in the Madison area too, has done that for a long, long time, and he helped bring me down here to that nonprofit, so I thank him for that. A lot of ties, and he's a great super fan.
I think we need to stop with one super fan, because that was a really nice super fan.
All right.
And I don't think anybody could. We might do the other one an injustice.
All right, we'll see.
Following a great veteran like the Weasel.
All right.
So I'm thinking.
That's true. Okay, we got to move on to a couple things. We're getting pretty long here, but the Packers.
We got to talk about the defense yet.
The Packers
talk about the defense.
Hold on. The Packers had an awesome game. They had an awesome game. The one I want to be concise on this, but you cannot overlook it. A lot of people talked about Aaron Rodgers, how great he was. He was great in this game. He was fantastic. And a lot of people have said he's played mediocre the last 8 weeks. He's actually played pretty well. The stats don't say all that. Yes, he had a lot of overthrows in Detroit. That game he was off, but he's had a lot of good games here this year. But this game, he was who he needs to be for this team to win. Who he needs to be for this team to win against the 49ers and win a Super Bowl. He has to be like this. He has to be efficient, and he has to make the play when they need it. And he did it time and time again in this game. The third down passing was off the charts. 8 out of 10 on third down for 7 first downs, and some big moments. I'm just going to rip through them because I know we got a lot to get to. 21-10. All right, here's the score. It's the third quarter. The Seahawks come out. The Packers dominate the first half. It's 21-3. The Seahawks come down and have a bludgeoning drive where Russell Wilson gets off on some long runs and breaks them down and does all this stuff, and they get in there and they score a touchdown. It's 21-10. And you're a Packers fan, and if you're not me and maybe some others who are strong believers in the Packers this year, you're thinking, oh no, 2014. No, it's Russell Wilson. It's the Seahawks. It's 2014. I'm getting all worried. No. Because you know why? Because on 3rd and 6, they're on the verge of a 3-and-out, which you could not, after that long drive, you could not put your defense right back on the field. That's the one thing you cannot do as an offense. If you don't score there, that's okay, but you got to hold possession for a while. And Aaron Rodgers throws a perfect ball. And this was probably my favorite throw of the game. Like, there were some other big ones, obviously, and some touchdowns, plays to Adams. But the 3rd and 6 play from their own 29, he hits Jimmy Graham on just a perfect throw for a 26-yard gain. Jimmy Graham gets tackled right away, but it doesn't matter because he's way past the first down. That was a huge, huge play. And yes, then later Davante Adams scored the touchdown, so then they went up 28-10, which was even bigger. But that third down conversion was one of the biggest plays of the game on that particular third down. And there were a lot of them. The Gmo one we already talked about. That was amazing. The specifics on the Gmo one I'll give you quick. There was only 9:15 left in the fourth quarter. The score was 28-23. It's 3rd and 10 on the Packers' 27. So the Seahawks had just scored the touchdown, didn't convert on the 2-point conversion, but they're on the verge of getting them on a 3-and-out again. A 3-and-out, which on defense, you just had a long touchdown drive against you. Again, being right back on the field, that's where your defense starts to look bad. And Rodgers,
you're chasing Russell Wilson all over the place. Those guys were gassed.
And so Rodgers converts to Geronimo on that one. And then the Packers held the ball until under 5 minutes. So they did, even though they didn't score there, they got that sack that finished the drive, they got a field goal range, all that stuff. They still held the ball for well over 4 minutes and gave the defense a break. So those are some key ones. And then, of course, you know about the last two. The one to Adams, which was a sick play all the way around, and then the Jimmy Graham one, which he did get the first down, even though the mark was off, but the line was off too. He got the first down. Okay, we covered all that. We're done with that. Okay, defense, go ahead.
I'm just going to bring up this one play, and then I'll talk about a certain player that I really think is, I don't know if he's not being talked, I think he's being talked about, but he's just not, I guess you don't notice that he's there doing things awesome, but I'm going to bring him up. First thing's going to be negative. I don't want to That's only one thing is negative. So just calm down, everybody who listens and thinks I'm Mr. Negative Guy. It was 3rd and 6, 14 minutes left in the third quarter. So it was just like the first third down of the second half for the Seahawks. Okay. And the Packers get good pressure all around them. And the reason why I know this is because I watched the play and I thought that it was Rashawn Gary who screwed up. He didn't keep his gap discipline, but that is not what happened because we watched the play again. On this play, Blake Martinez is supposed to be spying Russell Wilson because he's standing there for like 5 seconds. And the coverage is perfect back behind him. And the guys kind of corral Russell Wilson. They keep their gap disciplines. Russell's in the pocket. He can't break out to the outside. And then for some reason, after 5 seconds, Blake decides to blitz. I don't know why. And he takes the wrong hole. And as soon as he moves the blitz, then Russell squeaks out just off of Rashawn Gary's side, but still kind of up the middle because Gary was lined up at D tackle on that play and runs for 30 yards and extends that on that 3rd and 6 play. If Blake Martinez would have just stayed there and spied Russell Wilson, eventually the pocket would have collapsed on Wilson and it would have been a 3-and-out and the Packers would have had the ball. And then that play ended up being that drive ended up being the drive where they scored and then got 10 points. They got their first touchdown in the second half. And then luckily, like you just stated before, Rodgers got the ball down to Jimmy Graham, the best pass of the game. Then we had the awesome Davante touchdown where he schooled 2 dudes and just made them look like chumps and scored, and they was up 28-10, right? Okay.
Love it.
But what I'm saying is because last week I brought this up. I said we need to spy Russell Wilson on every dang play.
You did.
And part of being a spy is to be disciplined. And Blake, I don't know if he was told after 5 seconds to blitz or what. But that was the thing I noticed. Every time Wilson would run, there's either no spy or the spy did not defend his gap, or he didn't he decided to blitz or do something dumb or I don't know what. But you got to stick with the guy. And that whole second half where Wilson's just running all over him because they weren't passing really. I mean, a little bit here and there, right? But it was more a thing where he kept running around, and it was all the defensive linemen were getting gassed. Kenny Clark was getting gassed that second half. He can't play that many downs. They need to somehow. They got to get Martavius. They got to get Adams in there. They got to get Kiki in there. Like Kiki never plays. I don't know what's going on. Like Kenny Clark can't play that much. He's a great player, yes. When you're a big guy like that and you're chasing around Russell Wilson, like even Preston Smith said after the game, it's like chasing a chicken. It's like Rocky.
Yeah.
Nickel like this. It's like Rocky when Mickey makes Rocky chase a chicken around to try to get, to learn how to be quick and whatever. If you can catch a chicken, you can whatever. I can't remember the exact quote, sorry. But it's one of those things where you're running around and you're exhausted, especially when you're a big guy like that. And all those guys were kind of doing that. But for the most part, I will say this. The Packers secondary did amazing. I mean, how many times did Russell Wilson have to run around, extend the play, nowhere to pass the ball? Any other quarterback would not have been able to do that. And, it's a tip of the cap to Russell Wilson for being so crazy, but also a tip of the cap to the Pettin, the defensive secondary, all those guys playing great defense.
Well, they did fantastic against the run without having to overcommit against the run, which then allowed them to play more coverage, which was great. You were right about the spy, obviously, and you called for it. You said you don't want it to be a linebacker, you want it to be a safety spying him.
I wish it would have been a safety.
And that makes sense. That would have been the only, get that nickel safety in there, whether it's Sullivan or Ibrahim Campbell or whatever, and have one of those guys be the spy and let Blake Martinez either send him on a blitz to create more pressure or just let him kind of cover deep middle or the flat or whatever his assignment is on that defense. That makes more sense because he's not fast enough.
He can't keep with Russell Wilson.
Right.
Russell Wilson changes direction so fast. You just, you need a guy who's as quick to cover him, and it showed a couple times where they just couldn't corral him. And it's just kind of sad.
I mean, he does it. He
still did enough.
He does it to everybody, so it's not like we're picking on Blake Martinez here. He does it to everybody. The only thing I was holding out for, man, that whole game, and I was thinking the script was written. I was like, as it got close and it got within 5, and then the Seahawks were getting the ball back, and I was looking at, for the drive before the Packers got it the last time, I kept calling for it. I'm like, it's Tremont time. It's time for Tremont to get his pick back against these guys, and it just didn't happen. The Packers still got it done, so maybe it'll be next week for Tremont. I don't know, but I'm hopeful. I really want to see. I think this is probably going to be, if they go out and win this thing, I think this is he's gonna retire, most likely, but maybe not. Maybe come back for another year and play the last year of his contract. But he's
playing really well.
How many times? I mean, he's been in the league a long time. How many times is he going to get a chance like this again? I just want to see him make an impactful play for this team during this playoff run. I really want to see it because he's such an awesome guy, and he is a great great guy to have on, and especially with all those young defensive backs. Like, he has brought them along. He has mentored them. He has told them all the tricks he learned in his 14 years in the league. I mean, the guy is awesome, and he deserves it. I want to see him have that impactful piece of the puzzle this year, and I also want to see him win another championship.
Now that leads me to my defensive player I want to talk about.
I love Tremont.
He's a great mentor to the young guys. The guy I want to talk about is a guy who, honestly, I haven't mentioned probably in 5 weeks or whatever. And usually we weren't talking. We were kind of asking him to step his game up, and it's Jair Alexander. I think he was the secret weapon of this game, which sounds weird because you don't remember him really he didn't have any pass breakups. He didn't do anything like that. But he had 9 tackles in this game. There was a play in the first half where he was covering DK Metcalf, and Russell Wilson scrambled on third down, threw it deep downfield on the sideline, and Jair was there and broke up the play. And then he got in Metcalf's face and was talking smack to him. And you're like, oh, yeah, this guy's there to play today. He pretty much shut down DK Metcalf, who was a huge factor in the game against the Eagles. And he wasn't really much in this game at all. The other thing, that blitz on that 2-point play was huge. It was humongous. Because when you're playing defense after that, and you've got a 5-point lead, you play a totally different attitude on your defense compared to a 3-point lead. And then they shut him down that next time. He's the guy who made the tackle on Hollister, which caused the fumble that obviously the Packers didn't get because the official screwed him. But it was Jair who caused that fumble.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4. Here's another thing that happened. On the play where Preston Smith makes the third down sack at the end of the game to get the ball back to the Packers, and they never give it back again. Lockett is the furthest guy on the inside on a 3-man, 3 wide receivers to one side of the field for the Seahawks. And he runs a straight pattern. And Jair is playing 4 yards back, and it's a 5-yard. It's 3rd and 5. And Jair's like, I am not letting you get past 4 yards. And Lockett runs right into him. And Jair doesn't grab him, but he holds his ground. And that causes Wilson, because Wilson wants to throw it to him. He's looking right at him. But because Jair hits him and knocks him, he doesn't knock him down or anything, but he just, he plays man press. Like, that's what you do. You have a 5-yard window where you can chuck guys. And Jair does it. And that makes Wilson hold the ball for a little bit longer. And then that gives Preston Smith a chance to come around the outside because the tight end can't block him, who's Hollister again, who had a rough game. And Preston makes the sack. But that sack does not happen if Jair doesn't hold his ground and chuck Lockett off the line of scrimmage 4 yards downfield and doesn't let him get to the 5 yards. Because how many times do we watch and it's 3rd and 5 and the Packers are playing 7 yards off, right? It just drives you nuts.
Yep.
That play, Jair's playing 4 yards back. He does not give up the 5 yards. And that was a huge, huge thing. No one's going to talk about unless you watch the tape again. But I'm telling you, that was the key. That was the reason why Preston could get there. Because otherwise that ball's coming out. The other thing, there's no flashy plays against Jair. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you're looking around and then there's a guy running 20 yards downfield and Jair's the guy there who's supposed to be covering him and wasn't. It seems like he covers his guy. And when he gets beat, this is something that he's been doing lately that I don't know if he's being coached to do or if he just does it or if maybe it's Tremont who's telling him or what it is. But when he gets beat and the ball's coming his way, he just says, you know what? I'm beat. I'm going to do a pass interference, and I'm going to make sure he doesn't catch this pass. How many times have you seen that happen? At least 3 times this year, right? Where it's like he's beat, and he just, tackles the guy before the ball gets there. And at the time you're watching the game, you're like, oh, my gosh, Jair, what are you doing? Pass interference. But think about it. if he doesn't do that, it could be a huge pass. The guy could catch it and run for another 10, 15 yards. That could be a game changer. That could be a touchdown saver. That could be all kinds of things. I mean, I just mentioned how many things there, like 6, 7 different things that Jair's done either in this game or the last couple games that maybe don't get noticed because, you know, he hasn't made a lot of interceptions, right? He hasn't been, usually, you know, when a guy gets an interception, you're like, oh, he's a great cornerback. Oh, he makes the Pro Bowl because he had 5 interceptions or whatever. But I got to tell you, this guy he's aggressive. He's super confident. He's quick. He's making tackle. I mean, 9 tackles in this game. Remember, he's also the guy who's made my all-time favorite tackle of all time in Packers. When he took, what's his face?
Diggs.
Got his name. I live in Minnesota. How did I forget his name?
Diggs and Thielen.
Oh, yeah, Thielen. Yeah, he took Thielen and shoved him into Diggs and tackled Diggs with Thielen. That was the greatest Packer tackle of all time. When you can take another guy and shove him into the other guy to tackle him, that's genius. And it's just Jair is slowly becoming like my favorite defensive player.
Wow.
Just because he's just, I don't know. I'm watching the games and I'm like, he's just doing little things that are game-changing things that aren't maybe getting all the you know me, you know my history. Who are some of my favorite guys? You know, I mean, usually it's not a first-round pick. It's usually like, you know, Terry Mickens and Dorsey Levens and, you know, guys like that who are, you know, late-round picks. I usually like, you know, Aaron Jones, guys who are late-round picks who end up having a big role on the team or just great stories. But it's really cool to see a corner who is just like an aggressive, tough guy. Like, we haven't had a guy like that who's just kind of scrappy and just, I don't know. I just like him. I just like the guy. I think he's awesome. I think he's playing great. And I think he's a key reason why the Packers defense has made that turnaround in the last 5 games or so after the 49ers game. And he's going to be huge this week coming up. Is that Deebo Samuel dude? He's been making plays for the 49ers. So that's it. I'm done talking about Jair, but I'm just really impressed with him lately.
You point out a lot of things that are more intricate about the game that, like you said, a lot of people maybe don't notice because it's not where the ball is going or it's not, you know, a flashy play that you're going to remember all the time. But those are winning football plays, and those are smart plays. And so for him as a young guy to be that aware and that intelligent, like Rodgers has talked about his football IQ before, you know, he's had his ups and downs at times, but I would say his ups and downs this year were more based on the defenses they were playing. Because remember, in the middle part of the season, all of a sudden they were playing off all the time. Or more than half the snaps, they're playing off. And I'm like, no, you take a guy like that and you let him play bump and run most of the game. Fine if you want to switch it up a little bit, but most of the time you got to let him man up and bump guys and use his aggressiveness to throw off timing. And they've gotten back to a bunch more of that, and I think that's why you see him and his play elevated back again where people thought he was at the early on in the season. So I like you pointing that stuff out because there's parts of the game that a lot of times we don't see or a lot of people don't kind of notice. All right, so what we have to do before we can move on to the 49ers, and we'll talk a little bit about how this is still continuing once we talk about the 49ers, is if you went, I did this after the game because I didn't watch a lot of stuff leading up to the game about what people are saying, what the pundits and all these former football players, all these people on all the networks and whatever saying about the Packers and Seahawks game. And then last night, I went back and watched a bunch of it because I was curious. I'm like, you know, the Packers won. The Packers did it again. They won their 14th win of the year. What do people think coming into this game? Now, Stephen A. Smith, he thought they'd win. But a bunch of other people.
Aaron Rodgers is a bad man.
That's right. And so I went back and listened, and a whole bunch of people just writing off the Packers again. This is a 13. There were things said. There were things said like this: the most fraudulent 13-3 team in NFL history. That was said by
Chris Sims.
No, I don't think he said that. I think
he said
Pro Football Focus. I think Chris Sims said.
Oh, Pro Football Focus.
They said the most fraudulent 13-3 team in NFL history. Chris Sims said the worst number 2 seed.
Oh, that's what it was.
In NFL history. Oh, we're talking about the 100-year history of the NFL where come on, man. They're making these crazy statements, and they're doing that against a 13-3 team, a team that won 13 games. And the flip side of this argument is, which drives me up a wall, is why does everyone, not everyone, but why does so many people, including a bunch of the players in the NFL who played and who still play, say that Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time? Why, Ben? Why?
Because he won 6 championships.
Because he won 6 championships. Because he won.
You know what here's the perfect explanation for why all that is dumb. And we weren't going to talk about other playoff games. So this is just going to tell you all you need to know.
It's all dumb.
Lamar Jackson, he had 500 yards of total offense and all this crap, right? And he had 2 picks and a fumble and whatever, but he had all these yards and all these pass plays. Ryan Tannehill had 7 completions and 2 touchdowns. And you know who won the game? The Titans. So is Ryan Tannehill, because he won the game, a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson?
No.
But Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time because he's got 6 championships? That makes no sense. And that game, the Titans game, proves it doesn't matter. I mean, yes, you need to have a good quarterback or a quarterback who's smart or whatever it is. The Titans beat the number 1 team in the league with a quarterback who had 7 completions.
For 88 yards. 88 yards passing.
Tom Brady has 6 championships, not because he's the greatest quarterback of all time, because he was on the greatest team, probably of all time. And that's the distinction that's so dumb. And that's why those players and other people, and you think the players would know better.
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense, Jason. I don't get it either. I don't know.
But
I don't know why they say this stuff.
So the tie-in,
but that game just proves it.
Right. And the tie-in I was trying to make is this. You have all of these people who that's their viewpoint, right? They say Tom Brady's the greatest because he's won 6 championships. And then the Packers have won 13 times. They did what all these people showed they value more than anything. Not above the stats, not above the way it looked, not above any of the stuff, right? They won. He won. He's the greatest. The Packers won 13 times. And they get no credit for it. Except for Rich Eisen. Rich Eisen pointed it out very, very well. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Isn't the point in the NFL, because it's not like college where you got to worry about rankings and stuff like that and have teams with similar records and you're trying to position and jockey and get one of those top 4 spots. It is winning the game. If you win games and you have a good record, you are a good team. It's not like the Packers played a bunch of chumps this year either. They beat some very good teams. They didn't blow anybody out. Played a lot of close games. But so what? They won. They won. And sometimes it didn't look pretty, and it wasn't like, this orchestrated beautiful offense all the time, or the defense wasn't dominant all the time, but they won. They won. 14 times now. 14 times in 17 games. And no credit. Hardly any credit at all from almost anyone out there in the national media. It is sad, disturbing, and very frustrating if you're a Packers fan and if you're the Packers quarterback, because he voiced it after the game, and I do not blame him one damn bit. So that's all I want to say about that.
I agree with everything you said.
And
Sorry.
Nick's mad again. Sorry, Nick. Nick pointed out that there were a couple opportunities I could have argued with you on a couple of shows, and I didn't. He's like, "What were you doing? Ben said this, and it was an opening for you to go in and create some conflict, and then boost your viewership and ratings and all this stuff." And I didn't do it. Apparently, I just agreed with you, or I moved on, and yeah. So anyway, apparently, I got to keep looking for opportunities to disagree with you, and you have to look for opportunities to disagree with me to make more people happy. And Nick's one of our advisors for the show. So we got to try to listen to his advice sometimes.
Well, he doesn't advise me. He must only advise you.
He does, but at least he tells me what he
doesn't tell me
thinks. At
nothing.
least he tells me what he thinks.
That's good.
So
good.
anyway, all right, the 49ers, Ben. Here we go again, right? The number one team, best team in football, blah, 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 blah. Weren't the Ravens the best team in football too? What happened to them?
Yep.
What happened to them?
They got beat.
Got beat.
I just said how they got beat.
Got beat.
Derrick Henry ran all over them.
So when we look at this game, are we supposed to believe, oh, man, Packers have no chance. 49ers are just too good. Wait a minute. They both won 13 games in the regular season. They both won 14 games now. They both won a home playoff game.
Yep.
Yes, the Packers played them and got their butts kicked earlier in the year.
That's true.
But how many times do you see that happen? And then you see a later matchup or a playoff matchup, and it's very, very different. And I believe that this time around, it will be different. Now, please tell me what the Packers can do to make sure that it's a very different result when they go play the NFC Championship game against the Niners.
Well, let's take a look. We're going to go offense against the 49ers defense first. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but how did the Packers stink last time? Well, they couldn't block anybody. Aaron Rodgers had 2 seconds to throw the ball. He couldn't read the blitz. All kinds of crazy, dumb things that happened in that game that made no sense. And now the 49ers even have more guys back that were injured in the first time. They're back, especially on the defensive line. But the 49ers are a fast, maybe a little bit lighter team up front. And their secondary is good, but not great. Like I said last week, the Packers would have to attack the Seahawks secondary to win, and they did that, and they won. And the 49ers secondary is very similar.
And there's
a very similar style.
There's one of those 49ers D-backs that is very good at holding. We know that.
Oh, yeah. But that's when he plays man. Now that's the other thing. The 49ers they just kind of play zone all the time. It's like, all right, so what they do is they don't blitz anybody. They just have their 4 defensive linemen attack the quarterback, and they usually get there because they're really good at it. And then they do like a 3-shell deep zone and a 4-shell like middle zone. So in the time that it takes for that defensive pressure to get to the quarterback, there's really no throwing windows in that first zone level because the 49ers have that all covered because all those guys are waiting. So the only chance the Packers have really to extend drives and keep things going is to attack that second, or actually the third level, I guess. Not, past the linebackers, past that first initial zone area. And to do that, they've got to give Rodgers time. And the only way to do that is max protection. I said it last time before the 49ers game, and they didn't do it. And I said it after the game as what they had to do. And if you go back and we watch the Giants game, when they did max protection quite a bit, and a lot of play action max protection, and then just have 1 or 2 receivers in the route and flood the zone. So that's the thing about the 49ers. They're not playing man most of the time. They play zone. If it was man, it'd be different. And you can read that by moving guys in motion, right? So the Packers should do a lot of motion so that Rodgers can tell, okay, we're in zone, we're in man. Boom. Okay, do that. If they're in zone, make sure we're flooding one side of the field deep and max protecting. Only have a couple guys in the route. Because that's another thing the Chiefs do a lot, right? Remember the Chiefs game? We're talking about that?
Mm-hmm.
The Chiefs on offense attack players, the opposing team's zones. They put 3 or 4 guys in a zone, and there's only 2 guys to cover those 3 guys. And that's what the Packers need to do against the 49ers. Go past the initial level of the defense to the secondary level, max protect, attack downfield. If they do that a bunch, the 49ers will have to change their plan, and then you can gash them with Aaron Jones' run. And when it comes to running the ball on offense, they need to double team. And they need to go straight ahead. Don't try to go sideways. You're not going to get to the edge on the 49ers. They're too fast. They're too darn fast. They need to do the same thing they did against the Cowboys.
Agreed.
That Cowboys game, they ran straight up at them because the Cowboys are fast and light on the defensive line, and so are the 49ers. Run right at them, double team them, and just go to the hole. And then maybe the other thing that scares me, though, is a lot of times when they do that sort of thing, they'll leave like the defensive end on the backside of the play. They just let him run free.
Yeah, I don't like that.
And you can't really let the 49ers do that because they're too fast. They'll still get there and make the play. So you still have to have like a one guy, like a tight end or somebody, or like a wide receiver cut back and chip that defensive end on the backside of the play so he can't get there. Just chip him, just slow him down a little bit, but double team and attack on the running plays on whatever side you're going to. And that's how they can beat them. I mean, they can move the ball. They can sustain drives against the 49ers. I know it sounds crazy because you look at the stats of the 49ers, they've only given up 169 passing yards per game this year. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But that's how you can beat them. They're a light, fast team. They get a lead, and then they go after you. And then you drop back, and then they just keep kicking your butt. You cannot let that happen. Max protect right from the start. Play action right from the start. Run right at those guys. Do not try to go to the sidelines. Go right at them. The other thing, do not run plays that are 5-yard routes on first down, which sounds crazy. Normally you'd want to do that. No. You got to go you got to go like 9, 10-yard, 15-yard routes on first down and max protect and attack a zone. Flood the zone with 2, 3 guys. And it'd be crazy. If you watch the game film when you do that, they'll be back there. There'll be 3 guys or 4 guys on the other side of the field just standing there with nothing to do because you're not even sending anybody over there. And then they'll have to change their plan, and then you adjust and attack again. And that's be part of the plan. Have a plan against the zone, have a plan against the man. Move guys in motion so Rodgers can read it, and then there you go. So that's how I think they should attack the 49ers defense. Do you agree? Do you think there's other things they can do? What's your say?
Yeah, the one other thing I want to see repeatedly in this game is what I like to call a late leaker. Because you're going to want to chip Bosa, you're going to do something. So, and you can do it with Jimmy, you can do it with tight end. Jimmy Graham, this is a good role for Jimmy Graham. Because Jimmy Graham, one of the reasons he was able to make catches this week, key catches, is because he didn't have guys right on top of him. But the 49ers are too fast. They're going to be on him like glue if he tries running up the seam or down the field. So it's going to be contested catches, and he's probably not going to have the same success hauling in those catches. But what he can do effectively, and you can do this with Lewis, you can do it with some of the faster tight ends, Sternberger, Tanyan. We hope Danny Vitale's back. He could be a late leaker. Any of the running backs, whatever. But let him chip. Let him make sure everything's good, and then just go out. Then just sit out on the right side or left side as a safety valve, a late leaker, because a lot of times by that point, the middle linebacker, whoever is looking in those 2 flat areas, their eyes, they've kind of looked, nobody's there. Okay, now I'm looking at the quarterback. You get their eyes away from it. A late leaker surprises him. You can get a cheap 8, 9, 10 yards just by dumping it off to him right there. I think that could be a key to winning this game, to moving the ball, is having plenty of late leakers.
Yeah, and screen passes.
Yep.
Because the 49ers defensive line, they want to rush the quarterback. They want to move forward, and they usually are good at it. So, letting them go. The other problem is you let them go, and they're fast. So Rodgers, they're going to have to time it right, Yep. Because if they don't, Rodgers will get creamed. But screen passes could work. The other problem, though, with the screen pass and that play you're talking about is if the 49ers play that zone and they only rush 4, the linebackers for the 49ers are fast and they'll, they don't give up much. So those leak plays are pretty good. I don't know if they'll get, especially to Jimmy Graham, I'm not very convinced about that. Like if it was Sternberger or Tanyan or maybe, Irvin sneaking out of the backfield or Aaron Jones sneaking out of the backfield and then him making a guy miss and going, then I'm okay with it. I actually would rather not even see Jimmy Graham. I'd rather have just Jimmy Graham and those guys just help block. And Rodgers needs to pay attention. If Davante's telling him, hey, here's the blitz, like that first time, remember he's jumping around and telling him, hey, the blitz is coming, and Rodgers missed it, and then he got sacked and fumbled. Rodgers has to see the whole field before the play is snapped. And those are things that need to change. On defense, Packers defense against the 49ers offense, if they, to be honest, if they play like they played against Seattle, I think they can stop them. Because what the 49ers do is a lot of motion, a lot of like trick stuff. So you have to be disciplined. You have to stay in your gap. You have to, in the secondary, you almost have to play zone. Don't play man, because if you play man, they move guys around too much, and they do a lot of like shallow crosses. They do double moves, stuff like that. And if you play man, you're going to get beat. So I would rather see them play like a zone type thing and do the same type of pass rush, because Russell Wilson can run away, but Jimmy Garoppolo ain't running away from that Packers defensive line if they get pressure like they did against the Seahawks.
Right.
So I want to see the same type of game plan, to be honest, against the 49ers. Even though it's a very different team, the 49ers run game is very good.
You got to stop. You got to hold up against that. That's the first one.
Yeah, and they do a lot of crackback blocks and all the kind of stuff that we like to see with the Packers that have been doing this year, with like wide receivers taking on defensive linemen and like making really good blocks, and like Kittle's making great blocks, and then it springs them for an 8-yard gain. I mean, there was a time in the game against the Vikings where, like, I think the 49ers ran the ball like 17 times in a row or something crazy like that. They had a whole drive where they just ran it 8 times in a row and scored a touchdown. Until they could stop it, they're like, we're just going to keep running until you tell us you can stop it. And the Vikings never stopped them. So, but the key to those things is to be like, remember in that first game, I can remember you were talking about where Dean Lowry would, like, nobody blocked him. And he ran up the middle, and, he should have been waiting for a guy to smack, maybe it was the Eagles game. I can't remember exactly what it was, but where a tight end came from out of nowhere and just smacked the crap out of him. And he thought he was there to make the tackle.
Yep.
But he didn't have his head on a swivel, and he wasn't looking. He's like, you have to know, when you're a defensive lineman, if you get through the line and nobody touches you, there's a reason why.
Yep, somebody's coming.
So these guys have to, that's the thing where they're going to have to really look out for against the 49ers, because the 49ers do a whole lot of moving and shaking around on offensive, in the running game, where they're moving. It's way crazier than what the Packers even do. Let's face it, Jimmy Garoppolo, he'll throw you a couple picks, man. You got to catch him. Kevin King should have caught that one against Russell Wilson. These guys need to catch the ball, because it's going to come to them eventually.
That's why I'm hoping Tremon's in the right spot. Because if Tremon's in the right spot, he'll catch it. But I like what you were saying is completely flip the script on this one and go a bunch more zone. And normally I don't like zone defense. Normally I'm like, man, I want you to play man most of the time. But in this case, because of how that can get you completely out of position against guys like George Kittle and stuff, zone is probably a better way to go for the bulk of the game.
When you play a zone, it doesn't mean that you just sit there and back up and just wait for the guy to come to your spot. You cannot be passive. You still have to be aggressive. But it's just, he comes in your zone, hit him. You got 5 yards to work with. That's another thing. Like, I'll never forget, it's one of the greatest playoff games of all time, in my opinion. When the Packers, it was before they went to the Super Bowl, the year before, and they were playing the 49ers at Candlestick, and Craig Newsome just beat the snot out of dudes off the line of scrimmage, and God dang, who was the outside linebacker? Wayne Simmons or somebody? Simmons? I don't know who it was.
Yeah, I was going to say him.
Just beat the crap out of Brent Jones. Remember that?
Yep. No, I do remember.
Just hammered him, like, because within 5 yards you could beat the crap out of guys. He just smacked them and knocked them on the ground like over and over again that game. Packers defense just creamed the crap out of the 49ers in that game. Now, this is the 90s, it was like 1995 season, I think it was, or whatever.
Yep.
But it was one of those games where it was awesome, because the Packers defense was physical and aggressive and just took it to them. I have faith, man. I think they can do it. I think they have the pieces. I like LaFleur. Think about it, dude. They were passing the ball. They were aggressive in the game against Seattle, right?
Yep.
They needed to. They didn't do the Mike McCarthy and just hand the ball off 3 times up the gut and punt. No.
I know.
That's how they lost in the Seattle in 2014. They had a huge lead and they just kept freaking, hand the ball off over and over again. LaFleur's like, I got one of the best quarterbacks ever. I'm going to let him pass. And he did. He let him audible, and he did. And that's a difference. And I think he needs to – this is a huge game for LaFleur. Last time he went up against his brother and his buddy, and his mentor, and they schooled him. And this time he needs to, self-reflect, look at that game, and find out how to attack him and prove that he can do it. And I think he can do it. I think the team can do it. I think they have a great chance of winning.
I was on record last week saying that the Packers offense, I did not think the Packers offense could be the difference to win this game, the championship game, even if it was against the Vikings. I just kind of felt like the Vikings defense is going to be too strong. The Niners defense is too strong. I still don't know that they can score a ton of points. They're still going to have plenty of punts in the game. All that stuff's going to happen. So the defense has to be the difference this week to me. It's got to be pressure, and it's got to be some turnovers. Here's what I want to ask you, a couple of quick things. Do you think, because to me, I don't see Davante Adams having a monster game this week. I don't see Aaron.
No, he can't.
I don't see Aaron Jones having a monster game this week. I do. Okay, I hope so. I hope so, but I don't see that happening.
I think the difference in offense for this week for the Packers, what they're going to have to do is they're going to need to get Lazard, Geronimo.
Do we get any injury updates on Lazard? Do we get any injury updates on him? Because
I haven't heard. I don't know what the injury update is on him.
He did not come back into the game. He didn't come back into the game.
No, he didn't. The 49ers are not going to let Davante Adams get one-on-one coverage.
Right.
I'm sorry. And they're going to play, like I said, they're going to play zone most of the time, and they're going to have two guys on Davante. It's not going to be the same. Davante's not going to be able to do his juke move and get open. He's not going to be able to do double moves and get open against this defense. So they cannot count on that. They need Rodgers to be accurate, and they need, all these guys, like MVS maybe. Maybe they need MVS. To be honest, I think this could be an MVS game. I'm going to call it right now, which sounds crazy.
I like it.
They need to pass the ball downfield, and they need speed, and they need max protection and go for MVS. And MVS needs to make the plays. No more drops, no more running, like cutting his route off or whatever he's been doing that's been awful all year. They need him to get downfield and make plays because no one's going to be worried about him. I'm excited, man. This is crazy. It's crazy to think that, I remember when they let McCarthy go, and I was pretty pumped. I was like, hey, let's see what they get. They get LaFleur, and I'm like, who the heck is this guy? And
he's the guy who ran Derrick Henry a whole bunch last year.
That's right. And then that's what the freaking Titans have done this year. And they're like, yeah, Matt LaFleur knew what he was talking about.
Matt LaFleur's a genius.
And now they're in the NFC Championship game. That's kind of weird.
He's responsible for two teams being in championship games. I know,
kind of. Well, I think Vrabel's done a great job. And then it's crazy that just a change of philosophy in the last 2 years have turned this team from a conservative play caller, conservative in the front office, which was a winning formula to win regular season games, but not win the big game, except for once, has changed into an aggressive head coach, aggressive play calling, aggressive in free agency, and they're winning big games, and they're winning close games because they're more aggressive, and they're like, you know what, we're going for it. And it's just been, in 2 years, the whole franchise has just changed, a 180-degree change, and it's very exciting to see something like this. We've been waiting for it, all those years watching McCarthy and Dom Capers' defense. McCarthy run 3 times, punt, and then the Dom Capers' defense gives up the game at the end. How many times has that happened?
A lot of times.
And over and over.
A lot of times. Then we hear McCarthy after the game. Well, we had to trust our defense there. We had to trust our defense. Why? Why would you trust him? You've been watching him all year for the last 5 years? I will never fault. I even said this when they got the ball back against the Seahawks, and it was late in the game, and I said it was second down. I'm like, it is time for – they ran it and got a yard or something on first down. I'm like, it's time for a play-action pass. This is the perfect time for a play-action pass. And they ran a play-action pass, and the Seahawks defended it well, and it didn't work. But you know what I said? I applaud that call. That is what I want to see because you are going for the win. You're going to win the game.
I was mad after that play, and I called you, remember?
What the hell are you mad
Because
about?
he threw the ball away and he freaking stopped the clock.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
oh my
yeah.
God.
Yeah.
And I called you, and when I
yeah.
called you, because I'm watching free phone football, it took me a second, and I called you, and you didn't answer right away.
You called me to complain
By the
about
time you
Rodgers,
answered-
and then you miss a great Rodgers play, you dumbass.
Right. Then I missed the third down conversion to Davante, who then ran out of bounds for some dumb reason.
I know.
He's got to change. He should have just went down.
Right.
Like, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
What the heck you run out of bounds for, you ding dong? Anyways, but so there's times to be aggressive and there's times not to be aggressive, and LaFleur hopefully can figure that out and do awesome stuff. I'm excited. I'm pumped. Packers, freaking NFC Championship game. I live in Minnesota. The Vikings got beat. I feel sorry for them, but it's kind of nice walking around Packer stuff. People keep giving me dirty looks. I love it.
All right, we're both excited for the Packers and the 49ers. Don't worry about what happened in the past. This is a new Packers team. This is a different Packers team right now, like we just told you. And it's not like the 49ers looked invincible all year, because they sure the heck didn't. So go beat them down, Packers. Take it to them and win the game. That's Hafeman Brothers talking Packers. We will be back next week to talk about what happens in the future for the Green Bay Packers.
Must you hold me?